The following broadcast is brought to you by the iGolf Sports Network.
Golf Talk Live is sponsored by the iGolf Sports Network and Golf Tips Magazine. Here's Andrew to tell you more about our sponsors.
iGolf Sports is a live stream broadcast and media production company providing quality programming designed to attract the golfing enthusiast. And Golf Tips, the game's most in-depth instruction magazine, including reviews on the latest equipment, tips from top teaching professionals, all designed to help you improve from tee to green. Welcome to Golf Talk Live with your host, Ted Odorico. Join Ted each week as he speaks with some of the best in golf. This week's special guest will join us a bit later. But first up is another great discussion on Coach's Corner. So let's introduce tonight's Coach's Corner panel.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Season 13 of Golf Talk Live. I'm your host, Ted Odorico. We've got a great show for you tonight. The Coach's Corner gang are off this week, but I'm super excited to welcome back my very good friend, golf fitness expert, Bob Forman. And once again, he joins me with some more great fitness tips. And then a little bit later on, I'm going to speak with this evening's featured guest, Jeff Minton. He is the director of golf at Wild Dunes Resort in South Carolina. He'll be joining me a little bit later on in the broadcast. But before I officially introduce Bob, I just want to remind everybody, of course, if you want to watch this week or any of the previously aired episodes, you can visit the iGolf Sports YouTube channel or Spotify.com. And you can also listen to the audio version, which is available at Spreaker.com or wherever you listen to podcasts. And don't forget to subscribe to the iGolf Sports channel on YouTube so you'll get notified as new episodes drop each and every week. And if you're looking to step up your game, then maybe consider joining our growing community and consider becoming a premium member at golftipsmag.com. We have 3 membership levels available: silver, gold, or platinum. And by joining, you'll get access to premium content such as the latest golf tips from our top 25 instructors, more golf news, equipment product reviews, plus top travel destinations just in time to book your next buddy trip. And in addition to that, you'll also receive some special discounts from our many premium partners, and there's quite a few of them right now. So you definitely want to take advantage of that. So go premium today at golftipsmag.com. All right, as I mentioned, I'm joined once again back off of fresh vacation, so he should be ready to go. Bob Forman, as I said, is a golf fitness expert. He's the former director of fitness and wellness for the Congressional Country Club in Bethesda, Maryland. He's internationally known as a leader in the field of golf fitness. His programs have been recognized multiple years by the Golf Fitness Association of America, and holds a Master's of Science degree in exercise physiology, and is a certified golf fitness instructor through the Titleist Performance Institute and Gray Institute as well. And he's also an author, Functional Golf Fitness Training, which is available at thebookpatch.com. So, Bob, welcome back from across the pond, as they say.
Thanks for having me back.
I appreciate it. So, before we get into what we're going to talk about tonight, I'm assuming you had a good time over there.
Oh, excellent time. Got to see all the highlights of Europe, and it was a whirlwind. We went through 7 cities in 14 days, 4 countries, but it was well worth it.
Well, good stuff. So you're well rested and ready to jump right back into the show. So I'm glad you had a good time, and your other half as well had a good time. So that's the main thing. So as I mentioned, we're going to talk about the reverse spine. So this is what our discussion is going to be about tonight. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get our video going here, because we've got a video that we're going to go through, so you can talk about some of the different things here. So as I'm getting things ready here, maybe if you just want to touch a little bit about what we're talking about when we refer to the reverse spine. So what are we talking about here? So here's a picture, obviously our first image here in the video. So you can talk about here. It looks self-explanatory, but maybe you could just give us a few points here on what we're looking at.
Well, the reverse spine is a very common swing fault that you see in a lot of golfers, and it's one that you want to avoid because it will really kind of take away from your performance, as well as kind of set you up for potential low back injuries. Now, when we stand and address over the ball, for a right-handed golfer, you have your right hand lower on the club, which gets your spine angle, what's called your secondary spine angle. leaning away from your target. And when you go into your backswing, you want to try to maintain that angle away from the target, because when you do so, it sets you up to initiate the downswing in the proper swing sequence.
Right.
And, that will help in terms of impact. That will help in terms of your distance and accuracy. When you get into reverse spine, what happens is you take the club back for one reason or another. Many cases, it's due to physical deficiencies, but it can also just be a bad habit that golfers tend to get into. Your spine angle starts to angle back towards the target. So as you see in this picture here, and what that does, like I say, it doesn't really set you up well to initiate that downswing in the proper sequence. So it kind of robs you of distance and good hitting impact.
Yeah, and typically, from a instructional standpoint, what we often see here, our picture actually just disappeared, so let me put it back up here. What we typically, as you said, during the takeaway, a lot of times it could be a physical issue that they may be having. Maybe they're weak in certain parts of their body, especially in not just in their lower body, but maybe lower back, and also in some of the upper body parts as well. And we'll talk about that too. But typically what happens is it's a very ineffective or poor weight shift too. They're not shifting to their, in this case, we've got a right-handed golfer here. He's staying loaded pretty much all on his left side. And again, if he's got some deficiencies in his golf swing, he's sort of going to have that reverse spine as you're indicating here. So what can we do? What are some of the things, and we're going to advance through some of the steps here that you can do as far as exercise. So let me go to the next clip here. And see if we can get that stop.
Doesn't want to stay, huh?
Yeah, it doesn't want to stay. Okay, so here we're moving fast here. So let me try to get this back.
Well, one of the biggest physical deficiencies that you see in golfers is lack of shoulder mobility, specifically what's called external shoulder rotation, being able to rotate your arm backwards. All right. Basically, that's what you're going to do with your trail side shoulder, the right shoulder for a right-handed golfer, in the backswing. And in the downswing, you're going to do that on the left side, on your target side. But if you lack that mobility, what happens is it kind of limits your backswing. And to compensate, a lot of times as you're trying to make that good turn, shoulder turn that you read about in the journals every month, is it starts pushing you back towards the target. All right, because you physically can't rotate that shoulder, so you reach a certain point, and then to again try to get that club back further, it forces you back leaning towards the target. So that's one of the key areas that we see in many, many golfers is that lack of shoulder mobility.
Yeah, and a lot of it's tightness in the body. They're just not very flexible, and it's not necessarily, a lot of people work out and go to the gym perhaps, but they're maybe not doing the right exercise that are going to help them with their golf game, and they tend to stick to more weightlifting and things like that, which is certainly good, but it's maybe not always best for your golf game. So there's some things that you're going to walk us through here. So let me see if I can slowly advance this next.
Well, in this picture too, you'll note that this individual's got his arm rotated back to about 110 degrees. That's usually the threshold that we look for to consider that acceptable. If you can't get to 90 degrees, if you're short of 90 or just barely reaching 90 degrees as you rotate that arm back, that's a sign that you're limited in that mobility in that shoulder.
Gotcha. All right, so let me advance to the next one here. See if we can get it to. Oh, we're gonna have a little problem here. Okay, so here, there's the first one.
That's good. It kind of shows the range of motion there.
Okay. Well,
so the exercise we're going to get into is called an open book. So what you're doing is you're lying on your side in the fetal position. As you can see there, you can have light weights in your hand. You can do it without weights. And I emphasize light weights. You don't want to put a heavy weight in your hand because, again, you may put a little more stress on the shoulder than you want. But from this fetal position where the arms are bent at 90 degrees, you've got, like I say, light weights in your hand. In this picture here, I'm going to take my right arm and I'm going to maintain that angle in my elbow, and I'm going to rotate that arm up and over to the opposite side as far as comfort will allow. And then I'm just going to hang there for 15 seconds or so, 15 count, and just let gravity do the work for you. So that basically what that's doing is it's kind of opening up the chest cavity. That weight, this small, tiny weight in your hand will actually help work that external rotation as you just kind of hang out there. And then you're going to bring that arm back to the starting position. And you want to do like 2 or 3 reps. And again, holding for about a 10 to 15 count each time you go. And obviously you want to do both sides. You would want to roll over on your left side and do the same thing with the right hand, because you're always looking for symmetry no matter what you do with your exercise. And a lot of people will find that they'll have a tighter side, a more limited side. And basically you want to spend a little bit more time on that tighter side to try to get it to catch up.
Yeah. So if you're, just to clarify, so if you're, let's say, typically a right-handed golfer, you want to make sure you're working the left side as well in conjunction with the right, because obviously what we see often is they get a little stronger on one side of the body and the other side tends to be a little bit weaker, and that causes issues as well because it's not really in balance. So here's the second image. Managed to get it to stop.
You talked about yeah. So this is like the end result here. So you want to hold that position for a 15-second count, bring it back, and then repeat that 2 or 3 times. Now, you talked about strength training. The one thing to keep in mind is that when you do strength train, you're going to tighten muscles as well as strengthen muscles. So all the more reason that you need to get into a stretching program to maintain that range of motion and mobility.
Yeah, and you can see here as the folks look on, you can see the image here where your legs are and your hips are staying in the same position. They're not moving. They're not rotating with the upper body. So again, that's helping to create that sort of separation from the upper and lower body and helping to stretch things out. So let's see if we can advance to the next one and try to get that one. Oh, we managed to get that one to stay. So, all right. So this is another exercise. Tell us what this exercise will, before I move on to the next image. What are you getting ready to do here, and what's the benefit of this particular exercise that we're looking at?
Well, a second factor that can lead up to reverse spine is the lack of the ability for the golfer to disassociate the upper body from the lower body. And so they kind of become a one-piece turn. And again, trying to get that good shoulder turn or get that club back because they feel that they're going to get more club head speed. So if you can kind of work that disassociation between the upper and lower body, that's going to benefit you in the golf swing. So this is called the Heisman. And basically what I have here, I have my right foot up elevated on a bench. The other foot is just kind of hanging back behind. I have a little weighted ball in my hands. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to bring my left leg up and my knee across my body. And I'm going to finish in the Heisman pose. So if you go to the next picture, you'll see that end motion there. So you got that left leg coming across the body. You're keeping your shoulders square because again, you want that stability up in the upper body while you're rotating that lower half, and that's going to work that disassociation. So that'll again work to benefit that golf swing.
Right. And again, everything obviously should be done in moderation. So if you're not somebody that's in great shape to begin with, can they modify this a little bit? I mean, you're stepping up on, actually it's a step or a bench that you've got there. But if somebody maybe is a little bit jittery, like say some of our older, more senior golfers, could they maybe do that on a ground level and still kind of do something similar?
Definitely. It's probably the recommendation would be to start with a flat surface and then work your way up once you're comfortable with that. And again, you're doing like 10 to 15 reps, and you're not going to hold that position for a very long period of time. You just kind of get up there for a split second and then come back down. So not only are you working that disassociation between the upper and lower body, but as soon as you start to elevate yourself, on a little bench step or something that'll elevate you up off the floor. It's also a great exercise to start working the quads and the glutes as well to help strengthen those as you work that range of motion. And it's a good balance exercise too. So you kind of get multiple benefits from this particular exercise.
Yeah, and again, it helps, I think, with the coordination too. A lot of people, it's amazing, they don't realize this, but a lot of your little muscles too get engaged, keeping you stable and that doing a lot of these exercises. You wouldn't think so because obviously you're engaging a lot of larger muscles too, but your smaller muscles have to be engaged to give you that stability. Otherwise, you see people wobbling all over the place. So let me move on to the next clip here. Okay, so we managed to get that one to stay. So here's another exercise that you're going to demonstrate here. So tell us what we're doing here and what are some of the benefits.
Okay, this is called a reach through. So we're isolating the mid-back, the T-spine, thoracic spine area, where rotation needs to come from in the golf swing. So a lot of times, again, this is an area that we see golfers tight in the thoracic spine area. And again, that's going to limit their ability to really kind of produce a good golf swing. So from the all fours position, hands and knees, I'm keeping my left elbow locked as I'm taking my right hand and kind of reaching through between the left hand and the left knee until I feel that stretch in the back of my, in this particular case, right shoulder and mid-back area. And you're going to hold that again for about a 15 count or so, and then switch it over with the right hand, the right elbow locked, and the left hand reaching through, and doing 2 or 3, sets to each side. The more the merrier. You can also modify this stretch by actually bending the elbow and lowering the opposite shoulder towards the floor, which will give you more of a stretch in that mid-back area. But again, a very prominent area where golfers tend to lack range of motion and flexibility, which is going to impact their golf swing.
Right, exactly. So let's move on to, I think we might have one more here. Nope, that's it. So what I wanted to ask you is, with the exercise that we showed, I know there's some others that you have talked about before. Typically, how long should people dedicate to this? Like how long should these exercises take on average? I mean, obviously everybody's going to be a little bit differently, but if you're done properly, I mean, you don't want to rush through them. As you said, you're doing multiple reps in that in many cases, and it's something that you can work up to. But typically, is this, a 15 to 20 minute exercise regime that they can do maybe a few times a week? Give us sort of the skinny on that.
Yeah, well, again, when it comes to range of motion and flexibility, everybody needs it. Everybody can benefit from it. So, I mean, the more days per week you can do it, the better it's going to be. If you can only manage 5 to 10 minutes of stretching, do it. I mean, because you will feel a difference and it will make an impact, not only on the golf course, but off the golf course as well. I mean, a good thing to do is to get together with a golf fitness professional, go through an assessment. And this way, you can identify where your deficiencies are in terms of muscle tightness, muscle weakness, muscle imbalance. And this way you can dedicate a program to, those specific areas. So it's a better time consumed workout in that, you know exactly what you need to work on, and you can dedicate exercises to those areas. So that would be a great, recommendation.
So if you wanted to, let's say, incorporate this, because, people might go to the gym, and these are all exercises that could easily be done at the gym. So let's say if you had a regular workout, maybe 3 days a week, you could either alternate other days and do more of this, or you can add it in conjunction to other things that you're doing. But the biggest mistake and that's really what I was alluding to earlier, is we see a lot of people going to the gym, and, it's good to get some cardio in there and all these other things, but, they tend to just stick with the weights and they're not doing any of the stretching, and they get out there and they're stiff and they're tight. So these are exercises that they can do whether they're at home or if they're going to a gym. But what about when they're at the golf course? I mean, people are not going to drop down on the grass and start doing some of these exercises. These are things that you're going to do elsewhere. But are there some things that they could do to help with this reverse spine at the golf course as they're getting ready to play? Maybe if they got a few minutes There's anything they can do to help a little bit?
Yeah, there's definitely exercises that you can do, and using your golf club. That's a great way to kind of work some of the muscle groups. One of the best stretches that I do personally and that I recommend to golfers is to take your golf club, hold it out in front of you, and start with the right palm up, left palm down on the golf club. And what you're going to do is, keeping your arms extended, is you're going to flip that golf club this way, right? So whatever hand is facing up, you're going to flip that club and then rotate to that same side. And that's going to really work that, mid back and posterior shoulder area. And again, hold for about a 10-15 count, come back, change the hand position, left palm up, right palm down, flip to the right and rotate right. But, that's a really good one to do before the round and during the round, because, you're going to tighten up as you're waiting to hit your next shot. So, that's one of my favorites.
And that's a good one too. You raise a really interesting point. I want to touch on that just a little bit, because a lot of times we'll see golfers, especially when they get on that back nine, they start, it's starting to get into a little bit longer day. They've been playing for a couple of hours. They're getting a little bit tightened up in that. People think the opposite, because you're playing golf, that you're actually going to loosen up, and you do a little bit, but you tend to start because you get tired. Your muscles are getting tired. So an exercise like that would be a good one. Maybe while you're waiting for your other buddies to tee off and you got your driver or whatever in your hand, you can be doing that exercise there to kind of loosen up before you actually tee off on that particular hole.
Definitely. And that brings up a good point too. You talk about the cardio component. That back nine, a lot of people get fatigued, and that's when, you start hitting bad shots. So, cardio is important to kind of get you through that back nine, and the stretching as well. I can post, what I'll do is I'll post some golf cart stretches on the website that people can go to and kind of take a look at. But again, great to do during the round while you're waiting to hit the next shot. So to stay loose and to reduce that potential for injury.
Yeah, I see a lot of people now doing that. I think as more people are becoming fitness conscious, I'm actually seeing more people out in the golf course, even when they're out in the middle of the fairway and their buddies are hitting, I'll see them do different stretches and different things just to stay loose. Because, if you're standing there and especially if you're playing with a foursome and you happen to be the last guy to hit, you're standing there sometimes for a few minutes, and it's very easy, especially, when you start getting on that back nine, 11, 12, 13 hole, and suddenly you start stiffening up a little bit. You're tired. It's especially if you're playing in a climate that's a little bit warmer, that humidity starts to kick in. And obviously, first and foremost, you want to stay hydrated and make sure that you have a little something healthy to eat at the turn, not, scarfing down a chili dog or something like that, but you want to have something a little bit better, but particularly stay hydrated. That's going to help with the muscles as well, correct?
Yeah. And, we're getting into October, November, December, and the temperatures are starting to come down a little bit. So, the cooler temps will tighten you up a little bit as well. So, yeah, it's really good to maintain and stay loose throughout that round.
Yeah, and it doesn't take very long. You can do a lot of these exercises that you walked us through here a few minutes ago. Those are things that take really no time at all. They can be done away from the golf course. Some of them can be certainly done at the golf course that you just pointed out. So there's really no excuse, and they don't take a lot of time. So, and these are things, even when it doesn't necessarily have to wait till days that you're playing golf. These are things that you can be doing, wherever you are. If you're on vacation, either these are things that you don't even have to have a golf club. You could get a broom handle or something and do, the exercise that you just demonstrated. There's a lot of ways to mimic what you just pointed out, even if you're not going to be at the golf course for a few more days. So there's really no excuse to do it, and it keeps you loose. And as we've always said, anytime somebody's doing fitness, you made an excellent point just a few moments ago, and that is you want to go and get an assessment by a certified golf fitness professional, and let them look at what your deficiencies are, and let them walk you through a program. But these are exercises that certainly are going to be very easily and conducive for golf, and are not going to put a lot of strain. But obviously, you want to always consult with your medical professional in case you have any back issues or things like that may prevent you from doing certain things. But again, if you speak with your certified golf fitness professional, they can do an assessment and tell you some of the areas that you really need to work on, and then you can put together a game plan to move forward.
Yeah, I've been testing golfers since 2006, and I have yet, and I've assessed all levels, juniors, amateurs, some touring golfers, and I have yet to have a golfer go through the assessment and pass everything.
Yeah.
I mean, and in many cases, especially for the amateurs, us amateurs, it's not just 1, 2, 3, 4 things. It's a whole host of things that they need to work on. And I'll tell you, stretching, if you're going to do anything, stretching is the thing that I would recommend. I mean, that will get you further down the fairway. And just during the day, the activities of daily living are going to benefit from a regular stretching routine.
Well, you said raised some great points on an earlier segment in the season where you talked about the posture, and you talked about how, in today's, modern technology with computers and things like we're doing right now, doing this podcast, we're kind of hunched in front of the monitor and whatnot. Yeah, exactly. Got to be conscious of that. But, when you're doing that, if your job involves that, it's very easy to kind of get those hunched over shoulders. And if you're not doing things to keep those muscles stretched, what ultimately happens, and we've seen this, where the muscles in the front of the body start to shorten because you're sitting at a desk all day, and you almost get to a point of permanent that you're hunched over like that, and that creates a lot of issues with the posture. So, and those are things that you touched on a little bit earlier in the season. So there's never an excuse. And if you want to play golf, and you could be at any age. I mean, I've seen some 60, 70, 80, 90-year-old folks out there, swinging a golf club, and I've seen some really, guys out there struggling, and I've seen some others that, man, I wouldn't want to, get into a game for money with. But the difference is that the guys that are playing well, even at later in life, they're out there doing the things that you're talking about. They're out there stretching. They're out there doing things. I see them all the time up in the range and out in the golf course. So again, we're not just saying this to hear ourselves talk. We're trying to do this. And as you pointed out, coming into the fall, the cooler temperatures and things, it's very important to make sure you stay loose and limber, because those muscles will definitely tighten up. So any final thoughts that you want to send the folks off with here on the reverse spine?
Well, that kyphosis you talked about, the rounded shoulder posture. I mean, that is still another factor that can lead golfers into reverse spine. And like I say, it's very, very common. I mean, if you're out there with a foursome, just kind of take a look from the backside of your playing partners, and I can guarantee at least one of them is going to be doing that reverse spine. That's how prevalent it is. But take the time to get the assessment, or just get into a good stretching routine. It doesn't take all that long. I mean, even if you just dedicated 10 minutes, 15 minutes a day, or most days of the week, you will feel better, your game will be better, and you'll be able to move better. And those are 3 good things to get out of that routine.
Well said. Well, Bob, thank you as always. Again, I'm glad you had a great vacation, and good to have you back on the show. And don't forget, again, if you want to get your hot little hands on a copy of Bob's book, Functional Golf Fitness Training, you can get that at thebookpatch.com. And there is a link, a full link available. But if you just go to thebookpatch.com and either enter into a search for Bob Forman, or you can do, again, the book title is Functional Golf Fitness Training. You'll get access directly right there. And I suggest that you order yourself a copy, because I know there's a lot of good stuff in there. And it's never too late. Doesn't matter what age you are. It's never too late to get out there and get yourself into shape. And you don't have to go crazy, but just some of the things that Bob's bringing on the show here are things that anybody can do, any age group and any physical ability. And again, always make sure that you consult with your physician first if you are having any physical issues beforehand. But definitely go and get in touch with somebody like Bob, a certified golf fitness expert, and let them give you a proper assessment and see where things are at, and you can go from there. But Bob, as always, I want to thank you very much for joining me. It's always a pleasure to have you on. I look forward to the next time. And so it's always good to have you on the show, and I always learn something new, and I know I got to get myself out there and start doing some more of this stuff myself. So I'm feeling myself a little tightening up here as I get longer in the tooth, as they say.
And all those previous episodes I've listed on the website too. So if they want to go to the website, all those are on there. They can access those.
Okay, perfect. Well, that sounds good. All right, I'm going to take a quick commercial break. And when I come back, I'm going to be joined by tonight's featured guest. We'll be
Improve your putting with the Alignment Ball Marker, a revolutionary new in-game putting alignment tool and ball marker. Its patented design allows you to read your putt and adjust your alignment at the same time by using your putter, which improves your accuracy and makes the process of putting faster. 100% legal according to the USGA, by their definition, permitted under the rules of golf. Winner of Best New Product at the PGA Show and only $9.99 on Amazon. And it's also completely customizable for any golf event or as a promotional giveaway. Order at alignmentballmark.com.
Welcome back, everybody, and I'm excited to have tonight's featured guest, Jeff Minton. He is the director of golf at Wild Dunes Resort in beautiful South Carolina, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about him, but don't forget to tune in each and every week here on Golf Talk Live. You can go to our iGolf Sports YouTube channel, and all of the previously aired shows, and including tonight's, will be there a little bit later on, but you can check them all out. If you missed some of the previous episodes, they're all up on our iGolf Sports YouTube channel. And you can also listen to them in audio version. You can go to Spreaker.com or wherever you're listening to podcasts. You can also listen to the audio version if it's more convenient for you. So, but glad you could join us tonight. Very, very excited to have this gentleman in. He, as I mentioned, is a PGA professional. Began his career in the hospitality industry at Pinehurst Resort and Club. And after several stints as head professional at Shanty Creek in Michigan, he was also at the lodge at Ventana Canyon in Arizona, and also at La Costa Resort and Spa in California. He later joined, and as I said, most recently joined Wild Dunes Resort in the Isle of Palms in South Carolina. And very, very excited to have him on the show. So, Jeff, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Ted. Great to be here. Thanks for having me.
I appreciate it. So I'm going to start things off, I think, before we get into talking about Wild Dunes. I always like to ask, especially if somebody's never been on the show, is why golf? What was it about golf that drew you to the business? Well, both first off, as somebody who plays the game, but also as a golfing professional. So, when did you get your first start, and who introduced you to the game?
Actually, pretty funny story, because my best friend growing up, his dad actually owned a golf course, Ventana Canyon Resort in Tucson, Arizona. His dad was the owner, and we were friends, and we were both baseball players. We were pretty good baseball players in Little League and Pony League. And in high school, they actually switched the golf seasons to be the same as the baseball season. So I kind of had to make a choice. What did I want to do? And I was a pretty accomplished golfer at the time. I made the golf team, and, I was one or two in the high school team. And pretty much once they switched from baseball to golf in the spring, I just, I kind of made a commitment. I was actually in my junior year in high school. The coach, his name's Rick LaRose, the coach for the University of Arizona, came to my high school and pulled me and my buddy out of class and took us down to the campus at University of Arizona. Right. And he said, "We want to keep you local boys here in Arizona." So I was pretty much hooked at that point to go to University of Arizona, which I played golf in college. And then, just from there, I started working at the club, Ventana Canyon, and was pretty much hooked on it kind of ever since. When I finished school, I actually went into the PGA program and started working towards my Class A, which I got. And the rest is kind of history. Just kind of been in some really cool places and had some really good experience, and worked with some great mentors who helped me along the way.
I think a lot of people, that got their start in golf have a very similar story. Some, started very, very young, and maybe it was their dad or another relative maybe got them into the game, and some took a similar journey as you did, where they started playing golf in school and were invited to play on a golf team at university, and then ultimately goes on to to other areas. What was it about the teaching side of the game that drew you to that? I mean, obviously you enjoyed playing the game, you enjoyed the competitiveness of golf, but what was it that what switch sort of flicked on inside and said, I think I'd like to do something else in the game in addition to playing, but I want to be able to do something and help others with their game?
Yeah, teaching is a big part of it. I get a lot of satisfaction by making people hit it better. These are most people who take lessons are, they're pretty successful in their business.
Sure.
And it's pretty satisfying when you can help somebody, whether, get the ball in the air, hit it farther, make some putts. So every lesson that I ever got into, my goal was just to make the person happy, make sure they have fun playing golf. And, I always tell them, you're not going to get worse before you get better. You might hear that in golf. That's not how I want you to feel. I want you to enjoy it, and I want you to get better. And just making people's free time more enjoyable. And I think that's when I get done with the lesson and people are like, wow, I hit some balls I've never hit before. That's what got me hooked. And that's the satisfaction that I get from teaching. And I still do. I don't teach much anymore, but when I do, it's very satisfying.
Yeah, we're going to get into that because now you're in the position of director of golf, so you have a little bit different aspect of the game now that you're dealing with. But before we get into that, some of your duties as director of golf, what would you say is the most misunderstood aspect of the game by amateurs? As a professional who's been around the game for a while, what do most amateurs really kind of just don't get until they've come to see yourself or maybe some of the other pros working at Wild Dunes? What is it that they don't understand?
I think a lot of it is, for the most part, golf's a game of misses. Yeah. So you're not going to hit every shot like right on the middle of your 7-iron and it's going to go 150. I think Ben Hogan probably said it the best. Golf is a game of misses. Mm-hmm. So I think people think that it's easier than it is. Mm-hmm. And they get frustrated when they hit one or two bad shots after a good one. And I'm like, this is the hardest sport you're going to ever play. So you have patience. You're going to get better. And our goal is to make your bad ones better because that's how you improve. You're not going to hit them all great. But if your misses are findable and you have a decent short game, you can enjoy it. And again, the short game, spend as much time chipping and putting as you do hitting full shots on the driving range. I think, that's where you can make up the strokes the quickest.
It's interesting that you say that because it when you really look at golf, even some of the best players in the world, they were not necessarily the best ball strikers. They were not necessarily hitting it the straightest, but they could scramble very well. If you even look at Nicklaus could certainly hit some long balls, but he was not the best with his wedge game compared to other players. Even Tiger Woods sometimes would spray it off the tee. Right. But they were able to recover very effectively. So having that short game and being able to dial it. Now they were very accurate when it came to the short game, but other areas that they struggled with. And I think that's, sure. I think I agree with that. So you've now progressed to a much higher level of the game. You're now a director of golf at a very prestigious resort at Wild Dunes. What is your duties for those that don't understand what is, that obviously aren't in the golf business, but for the audience here, what does a director of golf do? What is your function now? And then I've got the other question I have for you is, what is the best part of what you do? Meaning what is the best part of your job? What do you love the most about your job? You've kind of leaked that out a little bit a few moments ago. And what's the most challenging part of your job? So just give us an overview first off of what a director of golf typically does and day to day, and then give us your most challenging and your most rewarding part of that job.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you have the golf business and you have the business of golf. When you get to a position of a director or a general manager at a club, you're really focused on the business of golf, meaning you're analyzing the tee sheet, you're working on your retail, If you're involved in food and beverage, you're managing the food and beverage department and the cost of sales. So it's a little less operational as far as, the day-to-day T-sheet operation.
Mm.
I want to say it's more strategic in
Right.
what you're thinking about day to day, whether it's forecasting, whether it's budgeting, whether it's working with the membership department and kind of coming up with ways to kind of grow that program. So it's really, you become a professional golf businessman more so than just an operator where you're playing with members, you're teaching. That obviously that's very, very important.
Of course.
And that's, because it is a people business. But I think as a director, you tend to get more into that aspect of it, particularly at a resort, because there's other components. There's
Sure.
rooms, there's food and beverage, there's everything else involved with the amenity of golf. So you kind of dabble in a little bit of a different stream than you would be if you just do an operations. For me, I think the most challenging thing is not being able to teach and play as much as I'd like to, because I just don't really have the time.
Right.
With 36 holes, 80,000 rounds and 1,500 members, there's really a lot going on. And again, the director of golf and the golf business, we've been kind of tasked with doing other things. In my case, I oversee the tennis department and
Sure.
the spa and the retail. So there's more things on my plate than just golf. But yeah, I definitely miss the playing part of it and the teaching part of it. That's probably the most challenging. The rewarding thing is still the same, though. It's still when you walk out and you're talking with customers, or you're reading comments from customers that played your golf course and talking about how friendly the staff was, how good the pace of play was, how they liked the course and the conditions. Ultimately, that's what gets them to come back. So that's kind of how I go about it day to day.
It's funny too, because there's kind of a running joke in this business. You don't get in the golf business if you want to play golf, because especially if you're successful at it, because there comes a point in time where you don't have any chance to play your own game anymore. You're so busy, as you said, in the business side of golf. So, I've talked to a lot of young guys that are still, working up the ranks, and they're all excited because they still play a lot of golf and that are not quite as busy yet. And then I've talked to a few that, 5 or 6 years into it now, they've got a full dance card, teaching and so forth. And it's like, man, where did my golf game go? I don't get to play anymore. So that a lot of truth in that statement. So you also go ahead. No, go ahead.
Yeah, I think it isn't. I think it is important though to balance that out, because at the end of the day, we all got in the golf business because we love the game, and we really should try to play more and make it a point, whether it's playing with your members or playing with your staff. Again, that's part of it. I know it's hard to do that, but I try to carve out a couple rounds a month here and there, just to make sure I do keep that. I keep sharp.
Yeah, that's important, and I agree. Also, in addition to doing what you do, you've spent a lot of time. In fact, I think a couple of decades. You volunteered with the First Tee in Charleston, where you're getting a chance to work with maybe future generations, not necessarily golf professionals, but young golfers. Now, tell us a little bit about that experience, then we'll start talking about Wild Dunes.
Yeah, I think anytime you can show kids or younger kids, particularly through the First Tee, the life lessons that you learn from golf, to me, that's a no-brainer. I think, like you said, that's the next generation of golfers. And a lot of the First Tee kids, at least in Charleston, don't really have the whereabouts or the opportunity to get lessons or to play a lot of golf. Mm-hmm. So for me, that is probably one of the most rewarding things. Getting the First Tee to come out to the golf course. Some of our members will actually help as far as being like marshals or driving the cart for them. But when these kids are done, they're so excited about the game and they're so grateful that, we took our time to come out and they could hit some balls, learn some etiquette. And again, that's, giving back to the game through junior golf, through First Tee is super high on my priority. And again, that's the next generation of, golfers to come. So we all need to, try to strive to do things like that for sure.
Yeah, I think it's important that, anybody that's in this game, that you give back, as we progress in our careers. I've taught now, I'm like you, I don't do as much anymore, but I've taught for over 32 years. And, I've had a pretty good career and I've enjoyed that. And now I'm looking forward to playing a little bit more myself. So I've had enough of it to the side, so it's time to get back out and enjoy a little bit of my golf. If there's anything still there, but anyways, and I agree with you. I think it's very important that we give
it's
back.
Like riding a bike, Ted, you got it.
Oh, I know. Yeah, I hear you. And this is the best time of the year too, when it's, cooled down a little bit, because I'm in Florida. So I know what heat is like, just as you do in South Carolina. So it's nice to get a little of that fall temperature to ease things up a little bit. So let's talk about Wild Dunes. Wild Dunes obviously has been around for a number of years. And of course, you've got a couple of Tom Fazio course. You got the Seaside course and then the Harbor course as well. Tell us a little bit about each of them. And I know there's been some renovations and updates that have gone on over the last while, so you can share that as well. But just give us kind of an overview of the courses. So the Links is Fazio's favorite course. It's his only Seaside course, but it's still, it's still his favorite golf course. Tell us a little bit about that, what people can experience playing that course.
Interesting enough, that was Tom Fazio's first solo design.
Yes,
when he went out on his own, and the piece of property that he had in Charleston, which is referred to as the Low Country, it's pretty amazing because there's a lot of elevation and on the links course. So the name links course isn't actually 100% what the golf course is.
Right.
There are some sand dunes that are 70 feet above sea level,
True.
And it's a little bit of a parkland course. Obviously, there are some holes 16, 17, 18 that finish on the Atlantic, which are really special.
Mm-hmm.
But again, the links course is it's a par 70 at this point. One of our holes, the 18th hole, which is on the ocean, we've unfortunately a few storms we've had made us convert that from a par 5 to a par 3 for now. So it's a par 70. That course was renovated in 2015.
Yep.
So about 10 years ago. A similar renovation to the Harbor course, just like anything, the infrastructure needs to be replaced. The greens over time had gotten smaller. The tee boxes back in the 80s when they built it, people weren't doing 40,000 rounds on a golf course. So
right.
The tees were enlarged, the greens were enlarged. The irrigation systems now are so much more advanced. Mm-hmm. You can water more efficiently. It's just a totally different program. I think one thing with the links course is when people play it, every day it's a different experience, particularly being on the coast. You might get a northeast breeze one day off the ocean, right. And then the very next day, it could come out of the south. Yep. So the holes play totally different, which is a pretty unique experience, similar to a true links course, right. If you're going overseas, Ireland or Scotland. So that's kind of the links course. That was built in 1980, and it was so popular that the owners decided, let's get Fazio back in 1985, and let's build a Harbor course. Mm-hmm. Again, Fazio, and he had a co-designer, a guy by the name of Mike Strantz, who has some pretty popular golf courses in the Carolinas and other places. So the Harbor course isn't exactly on the ocean, but it has holes that parallel the Intercoastal Waterway, yep. Which is the waterway from Florida all the way to New York. It's a little tighter because they didn't have quite the land to, be as forgiving as we had with the links course. But again, typical Fazio design, really good par 3s. He always throws in a risk reward par 4, whether it's drivable or if you want to lay up, the green's tricky. And as you mentioned, that course has recently just been renovated. As a matter of fact, it opens tomorrow with our men's member guest.
Right.
But similarly, it closed in March of this year.
Mm-hmm.
Again, similar to the links course, full renovation. Greens were doubled in size, new cart paths, new irrigation. We went with what's called runway tees. So you have one kind of big teeing area, which makes it a lot easier to mow, and you have a lot more teeing space. And again, the harbor course had been the original irrigation, the original greens for 40 years. So obviously, it was time to improve the infrastructure. So again, Fazio and his team were very involved with the design. Troon Golf was also a partner in helping consult with the project. And again, it couldn't be more happy to see what it does. And I'm super excited to see what golfers are going to say when they play it, because although the bones are the same, with the new greens and the new turf on the greens, the better irrigation, it's just going to really be a game changer, for Wild Dunes. Now we have two really good, excellent Fazio golf courses that are going to be in good shape for a long time.
Well, and I think with the changes too, it gives you a little different perspective in your play. With the greens being a little bit bigger, you have more areas to to consider depending on where the pins cut and that. Where sometimes the older courses that had smaller, tighter greens, you didn't have a lot of areas, especially if you had some hazards or something nearby.
No.
So I'm not going to name names, but there's some still out there that are a little dodgy. But so especially, and it's important for.
Oh yeah, we had some greens that were the size. We had some greens that were the size of a Volkswagen, I'll tell you. So again, even though the actual corridors of the fairways haven't gotten wider, but you mentioned it, just by seeing a larger green and having a bigger tee space, the perception is, oh wow, I can hit a green now. I might not be able to two-putt, but at least it actually appears to be more open. But again, it's just over time, how greens just tend to shrink. And, we basically brought them back to their original size that they designed, 40 years ago. So it's great.
Well, and I think, in this day and age, as you and I both know, golf is a difficult game. It's challenging. It's tough. And I think the more people that have come to the game, I mean, we saw a big influx of people, through the pandemic. Golf was one of the fortunate groups of businesses that were able to stay open through that. And there was a lot of new people that had never played the game before. Mm-hmm. So, they're coming to the game. It's challenging enough. So anything that you can do as a resort to make it more, not just aesthetically appealing, by, giving the courses, for lack of better words, a facelift. I know there's more to it than that, but generally, that's some of what's happening. But to make it more forgiving a little bit too, still challenging at times, but also more forgiving. That helps those that are newer to the game say, hey, I want to come and play this because I know I have a chance. It's, they're not playing something so challenging and so difficult that they can't, give a good run at it. So I think it's very important and very smart that you guys, jumped on that as well. What would you say from a playing perspective, if you were being a caddy to one of the players walking around or driving around that course? And you could pick either course. If you want to start with Seaside, that's fine. What would you advise them on how they should best approach that? And you can pick whatever level of player you want. The reason I'm asking you is I just want to get a sort of a flavor. If you were advising somebody as their caddy, what would you want them to look for? What would you want them to get the best experience out of it?
100%. Starting with the Seaside course or the links course, again, the distance isn't all that important. So if it's a better player, I would say, all right, maybe there's 4 or 5 holes where you can bust your driver. It's a par 4, you might be reachable.
Sure.
But there's a lot of holes where you're better off being a little more strategic and placing it in an area where the next shot to the green is going to be a little bit easier for you. At the links course, most of the trouble is long. So I would tell people, whatever you do, don't go long, because
Right.
it's going to be really hard to get up and down.
Right.
Again, it's also at sea level. It's also at sea level, and the wind always changes. So nobody ever takes enough club. That could be anywhere people play.
Sure.
The amateurs tend to always underclub themselves.
Yeah.
But, on the links course, it would be a little more strategic off the tee. Try to, see where the pin's at, and it'd be like, all right, maybe a 3-wood to the left side of the fairway will give you a better shot into the pin. And again, at both courses, particularly now with the Harbor course being redone, the greens are probably the most trickiest of the courses because of the undulations.
Right.
And, because of the slopes, you can't really see them because you think you're in the low country and there's not a lot of elevation.
Right.
Particularly the Harbor course, it's pretty narrow.
Yeah.
So, most everybody, and I would also tell people, like you just said, play the tees that you're comfortable with.
Yeah.
If you're play it all the way forward, if you're not a long hitter, have fun. I want you to hit a par 4 and 2. So don't play from the back tees or don't play from the white tees. We have a little sign at the first tee that kind of gives people, based on their average score of their handicap, what tees we recommend, just to have more fun. It also helps speed of play to get people playing the right tees. But I think playing the right tees, not always hitting it as far as you can, try to keep it in play. And just kind of go from there. And, and particularly, at Wild Dunes, long is typically not a good thing to be.
Well, and I think, you want, again, because you are a resort, you want people to come and have a good, obviously you have members and things like that are more familiar with the surroundings. So they already kind of know most of that. But, when you have groups coming in to enjoy the resort that maybe have never played there before, you want them to have a really good feel of what to expect and what some of the challenges might be when they're out there. So I think it's important, to sort of put that out there. And I know there's a lot of other things. You've got the Sweetgrass Inn. You've got some great accommodations. Maybe you could touch a little bit on those as well. And then we'll talk about the many, and I mean many options, dining options that you guys have available at the resort as well. So talk about the Sweetgrass Inn and some of the other accommodations that people will find when they book to stay at Wild Dunes.
Yeah, so the Sweetgrass Inn is our newest accommodations. It's a little over 200 rooms. Strictly a hotel product.
Mm-hmm.
It was built in 2021 when it opened. So that's probably our most high end product. It's the newest. Below the Sweetgrass Inn, the next product we have is called the Boardwalk Inn. The Boardwalk Inn is kind of more of a cozy, older school traditional hotel. It's a little darker wood. The bar is really cool. It has a nice, good experience with it, and it's on the boardwalk, which leads you out to the ocean. Behind it.
Right.
Each hotel has its own pool. We have 5 pools on property. So the Sweetgrass Inn, it's a little more kid friendly. It has like the zero gravity pool, the splash pad, hot tub. The Boardwalk Inn it's kind of more of I don't want to say it's an adult hotel, but we have adult only pool to Boardwalk Inn, and it's just a little different feel. And the third option we have is it's the residences at Sweetgrass. So these are 1 and 2 bedroom condos that are really popular for groups like golf groups, 8 or 12 guys who are coming to the property, and they want to kind of be in close quarters, not in individual hotel rooms. So they can get like a 3-bedroom that can sleep, 6, 7, or 8 guys pretty easily. So they're all together. And the good news is all 3 of the accommodations are in the core of the resort, right, where all the activity is. Mm-hmm. It's close to the harbor course. It's close to the pool. It's close to the dining options you mentioned. So it really depends on what people are looking for. If you're coming with your family, you want a little more room, the residence would be a great option for you. If you're doing a staycation or anniversary trip, the Boardwalk Inn or the Sweetgrass are really good options. So it's pretty much something for everybody.
Right.
There's even homes for rent on the island, anywhere from a 5-bedroom to an 11-bedroom home for people to rent. So pretty much all different types of accommodations are available, at Wild Dunes.
Yeah, and again, that's important. You want to be comfortable when you're there, and especially if you're up playing some golf. And I mentioned, obviously you don't have to go through them all, but you obviously have a lot of dining options as well. One of the nice things about in around the Charleston area and in the southern parts of the United States is some fine cuisine, and I know that you guys offer plenty of that southern charm, if you will, at Wild Dunes. So maybe you could just touch on a few of the experiences that they may have visiting when it comes to dining.
Yeah, good point. We have a lot of options. You don't necessarily really have to even leave the resort. Mm-hmm. Although, as you mentioned, Charleston has a pretty good reputation for being a great foodie town. So, some of our guests do, they're going to eat at the resort 2 or 3 nights, but we also encourage them to try some of the local flavor downtown. But, our signature restaurant is called Coastal Provisions. It's located in the Boardwalk Inn. You can get a nice steak. You can get a local fish. It's got a really good wine list. It's kind of more of a fine dining experience. We also have in the Sweetgrass Inn in the lobby a restaurant called the Oyster Catcher. Yeah. It's available for breakfast and for dinner. And the name pretty much can tell you a little bit about it. Great oysters, great southern seafood. They got awesome hush puppies. There's a bar right there as well. So it's a little bit more casual option. Obviously, at a resort, we have a great pizza joint called Coastal Crust. You can go in there and get a fired oven pizza, some local draft beers. And again, at the golf courses, down at the links course, we have the 19th hole is called Huey's. A little more casual dining, more of a clubhouse type menu with burgers, club sandwiches, salads. Down by the beach, there's Beachside Burgers, again, which is kind of like your typical pool/beach bar. A lot of fun drinks that are made in blenders. Again, burgers, chicken nuggets for the kids. Right. So again, there's pretty much all kinds of options. We have a sweet shop, which is a candy shop with ice cream, all the old school candies you can remember when you were a kid. Yeah. And our families who come there for the summer love that. So again, plenty to do to stay in the resort for sure. You really won't get bored with our menu options.
Yeah, and thank you for making me hungry with all those great options.
I know. It's ready at dinner time too.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. I'm glad you stopped when you did, because I was thinking to myself, I could envision I'm a steak person. I love some good seafood as well, and I always like to throw down a good burger and a draft or two. But so, lots of dining options. That's important, and a little something for everybody. You can have a little bit more upscale experience if you want, or you can get something a little bit more casual too. Obviously, it's a very family-friendly resort with a lot of things, which is important as well, because not everybody that's coming to the resort may even necessarily want to golf. So I know you have a spa there as well. So there are other things that go on in the resort that people can enjoy, other activities. You mentioned some sports earlier. So for those that maybe come with a family, there's some things for them to do. Maybe you could touch a little bit on that.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have a full recreation program, which kind of caters towards family. We have an area where we offer bingo on the plaza at night. In the summertime, we do movies on the amphitheater. We have crafts all throughout the day. So, if mom or dad are playing golf or going to the spa, there's a place where the kids can go and be entertained for 2, 3, or 4 hours for sure. Plus, we have like 7 resort pools. We have a lap pool that's heated. We have 2 beach pools. I talked about the zero gravity and the kids pool. We also have a fantastic tennis program. It's one of the top in the country. We have 12 hard true tennis courts, which is basically clay court. Mm-hmm. And of course, it wouldn't be a resort without pickleball.
Of course.
So we now have 6 pickleball courts it's all the craze. Yeah. It's, once we built those 6 courts, they're pretty much busy all the time. And you mentioned the spa, beautiful spa at Sweetgrass, 14 treatment rooms. we're really focused on wellness. So there's fitness centers, there's yoga classes. And again, there's always a beach. We offer bike rentals, which you can ride around the resort grounds on a beautiful bike paths without even really leaving the resort. So again, if you're a family, there's all kinds of things to do, whether it's summer, fall, or winter. We always try to program it so, families find something to do other than golf.
Is there other entertainment that comes to the resort? Like, do you have, you mentioned about that you had the amphitheater and that where there's movies available. Do you have musical entertainment that, comes, at certain times of the year to the resort that, gets people a little bit more festive as well? Is that something that you guys have available at the resort?
Yeah, pretty much every night, particularly in the summer. And it's most popular down at the Grand Pavilion.
Right.
We have, whether it's a steel drum band, whether it's just a local little group, we have a little rotation that plays down there all the time. At the clubhouse down at Lynx, we have every Thursday night we have live music. There's trivia on Wednesday nights, so there's all kinds of entertainment, and we have fire pits. So when it gets a little cooler, it gets dark early. We got a couple of fire pits where we do s'mores but obviously a lot of entertainment, particularly in the summer months for sure.
Who has been, again, it's a resort, so it's again, family friendly. Are you seeing, over the last few years, are you seeing a trend one way or the other, as far as guests? Is it pretty much the status quo where it's pretty predominantly family coming into the resorts, or are you seeing, as an example, are you seeing more, women's groups coming in, like, maybe foursomes of women coming in and playing, typically like the guys have done for many years? Are you seeing more of an increase in that area as well? And do you guys have any sort of leagues that go on throughout the season as well? And I'm talking about golf primarily, but
yeah, for sure. Yeah, from a women's standpoint, you mentioned it. Women are one of the fastest growing segments in the game. So we are certainly seeing a lot more groups of 4, 8, and 12 women who are coming together, staying at the resort, maybe doing a clinic in the morning and then playing 18 holes in the afternoon and then going to the spa. Wild Dunes is kind of unique because we have kind of like 3 seasons. You have the spring season, which is really where you have your golf groups, whether it's guys trips or, as you mentioned now, women's trips. We have a lot of meeting space, so we get a lot of corporate groups in the spring. And then in the summertime, it's more of a family resort. So people come for their week-long vacation. Right. So they'll hang out at the beach during the day. And we offer a really cool program in the afternoons. So kids play free with a paying adult. So they might go to the beach all day and, maybe a mom plays or maybe she doesn't, but they can come out as a family and go out at 4 or 5 o'clock. Yep. Kids are playing free. It stays light until 8. Yeah, so they're enjoying an awesome time of golf at really no pressure. There's nobody really pushing them. Mm-hmm. But there's definitely been a trend since COVID, there's been a trend in more family vacations and more family-friendly options. You can pretty much count on the summertime, the tee sheets are going to be full from like 4 to 6, which is great because we want them out there. And again, same with the women's groups. So, we're also a private club, so we don't have a lot of particular leagues, but we'll have a 9 and wine event where, and it's kind of geared towards the women. They can come out. That's a really casual, play 9 holes. Every third hole, we have a wine vendor pairing wine with cheese. It's a really, really cool event.
That's a 6-hour.
I join into that one. Yeah, it's a 6-hour 9 holes. Yeah, and then when they come back, they feel no pain for sure. So
probably scores either.
The whole idea is fun. Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, we don't even keep score in that event. But we also are in a pretty local area, so we do have a lot of local. We have a kind of a rewards program. If you're a local, you can download the Wild Dunes app, and for every round you spend, you get points.
Sure.
And it's like a credit card or an airline credit card. The more points you get, you can redeem it towards free rounds or discounts or merchandise. So, we appreciate the locals, and that's kind of our reward program we had for them. It's been pretty popular. And, particularly now that the harbor's open, it was a little tougher the last year with one golf course with the members and the resort guests. So we had to be, we weren't quite as available. But now with the harbor course reopening, I expect to see a lot more locals who take advantage of the rewards in the Wild Dunes app.
Yeah, and that's a great perk to have and to be able to offer to the locals, because again, that gets the numbers up, gets people coming out, and it gives them a little something in return. When they're spending money at the resort, and say, hey, I'm getting, after so much, I'm getting a free round, or I'm getting discounts, or whatever the case may be, or as you said, off merchandise too. So, it gives them a way of almost an incentive to earn those points as well. And especially if they're enjoying their experiences there, then that's something they're going to pass around to others in the area and visitors and so forth. So I think that's a great idea. I want to finish.
Wild Dunes are the go ahead.
No, please go ahead.
Yeah, I would say Wild Dunes is a great place for a staycation. Yeah. You can be in Mount Pleasant or Charleston, and you drive 10 minutes and you're on a little island at Wild Dunes, and you feel like you've gone, somewhere miles apart. So we do a lot of staycations, and we promote that to our locals, which again, helps the golf courses, the restaurants, and you're not having to drive or, fly forever to get some R&R.
Yeah, and you're right on the water too, for the most part. So I mean, you can't beat that. You got some beachfront property. Everybody likes going to the beach. So I wanted to finish off as we get ready to wrap
100%.
up. Yeah, exactly. I wanted to finish off and let you talk a little bit about the instructional side of golf. What do you have to offer there? A little bit. Do you have an academy? And maybe you could touch on a little bit about that. If people are looking to tune up their game, what types of things do you guys have to offer at Wild Dunes?
We pretty much have the whole gamut, whether it's in search of the perfect swing video analysis. We have group lessons, whether it's 2, 4, 6. We can pretty much customize any type of group you can have. We offer playing lessons, typically later in the day, kind of based on the person's ability. You don't want to go on a playing lesson at 10 o'clock on a Friday. So we kind of work that, out with each individual person. Right. We don't have a golf school per se, although we've always created customized schools. If somebody wants a family lesson where they have all 4 family members, we'll do an hour of chipping and putting and an hour of full swing. We videotape them, maybe go out and play 3 or 4 holes. Which people really like. And of course, you can always get, an individual lesson with any of the pros. We have a director of instruction. Our head pro teaches. And if somebody really twists my arm, I'll go back out there again and, watch them hit some slices.
Right, exactly. The only slices you want at Wild Dunes is one of those pizza slices is what you want to get. But
100%.
Yeah. Well, Jeff, I want to thank you very much for coming on. It's always interesting to learn about new places that for those that maybe are not familiar with Wild Dunes. And I'm going to give you that website. It's wilddunesresort.com is their website. You can go and hear all of what we talked about here on the show and a lot more information on there. And you can reach out if you want, if you have questions, or for those of you who have never visited the resort, you can certainly get a lot of information there, but you can also reach out to their very accomplished team at the other end to help guide you through and navigate for whether it's a staycation or whether you're planning a little bit longer vacation. Wild Dunes Resort is definitely a place you want to go to. A lot of great stuff there. So again, go to wilddunesresort.com. I want to thank my very special guest earlier, Bob Forman, our golf fitness expert. Thank you, Bob, for coming on and helping us deal with the reverse spine from a physical standpoint. That's something that a lot of golfers struggle with. So we're glad that Bob was able to come on. And of course, my very special featured guest of the evening, Jeff Minton, Director of Golf at Wild Dunes Resort. Thank you, Jeff, again for joining us. And for those of you tuning into the broadcast, again, go to our Golf Sports YouTube channel. You can catch all of the shows, including tonight's, will be there shortly. And if you want to listen to the audio version, you can go to Spreaker.com. Wherever you listen to podcasts, they'll be available there as well. But on that note, again, thank you to all of my guests this evening, and I will see you next week right here on Golf Talk Live. God bless everybody, and have a great weekend.
Thanks for joining us. We hope you enjoyed this week's broadcast of Golf Talk Live. We'd like to thank this week's Coach's Corner panel, and a special thank you to tonight's guest. Remember to join Ted every Thursday from 6 to 8 p.m. Central on Golf Talk Live. And be sure to follow Ted on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. If you're interested in being a guest on Golf Talk Live, send Ted an email at ted.golftalklive@gmail.com. This has been a production of the iGolf Sports Network.